Hey friends, Jer Stays here. I know we said we were going to take a slow week, but let's be honest, Detroit never stops. So for a bonus edition of your Daily Detroit, Fletcher Sharpe joins me to talk for a few minutes about new Detroit City FC head coach Danny Dichio. Let's get into it after a word from a sponsor on this Wednesday, November 29th, 2023. Daily Detroit thanks Plum Health Direct Primary Care for their support. Plum Health is your personal doctor on speed dial. For $75 a month, you get unlimited access to your doctor. Just call, text, or visit for anything you need. Up to 90% savings on meds, labs, and imaging services, and 90% of all of your healthcare needs handled in-house. You get a personal, one-on-one relationship with your doctor with unlimited visits. Spend as much time as you need to get your health on the right track. Serving Detroit and Oakland County individuals and businesses? Sign up at plumhealthdpc.com. That's plumhealthdpc.com and support those who support us. Well, friends, it looks like Detroit City FC has a new coach in Danny Dichio. He is a veteran footballer, been on both sides of the pond. This is something that we heard some early reports about. Of course, shout out to Nolan Bianchi over at the Detroit News. We are recording this before it's announced. It's late on Tuesday night, and Fletcher Sharpe, can't think of anyone better to talk Detroit City FC with you. I guess we're getting a not only former football star, not only first goal scorer for Toronto FC in the MLS, but a DJ.
I mean, yeah, they're getting something very different than Trevor. Kind of a bit more of a media-friendly guy, one would say. If you were to Google his name, some of his soccer exploits come up. I Googled and found one of his goals from Millwall. But you also see stuff about him being a DJ, so you have someone who is, I guess, media savvy, camera friendly. That can only really help, I guess, in getting the brand name out.
100%. Comes from Sacramento Republic FC, frankly, a club that's been doing pretty well and was in the conversation for a while about going to MLS.
He comes from a pretty pro setup. I mean, obviously, everyone in the USL Championship is a professional team. But the Sacramento Republic have a really, really good setup. I think they have the largest stadium in the league, highest attendance. Pretty good top to bottom organization. And they also play three at the back the way Detroit used to for most of the season. So maybe he can bring a style like that. I mean, maybe some more attacking presence. I'm sure every formation, while they all have the same numbers, are very different. So obviously Detroit's 3-5-2 was more of a defensive alignment to kind of keep people from breaking them down, whereas Sacramento's was more of their wingbacks kind of got up the field a lot more to help create. Jack Gurr, an all-league player. So hopefully he brings a style kind of like that, because it'd be a bit more exciting than, not seeing that.
There's a pretty big difference I've noticed over the last couple of seasons between the West and the East. And I know that this is a big generalization, but it feels like the West is a faster pace of play and a little bit more competitive.
I mean, yeah, Rio Grande Valley, who are not that great in the West, came to Keyworth and just kicked Detroit's teeth in. There are a few times where Detroit went west to go play against some clubs, and they were not very good clubs, and they got stomped. It's because parity kind of exists a bit more in the West than the East. Top to bottom playoff races are always at least from seed number 5 to seed 10. So there are people who just could be in there even if they're not really have a chance. Whereas in the East, if you're not in the playoffs, there's a 15-point gulf between seed 8 and 9 and then everyone else after that. It's those teams are definitely not making the playoffs, which in a way helps you feel good if it's your team, in a playoff race, because you have less teams to compete with. I know in the West it's a bit more stressful, but it kind of shows you that even the really, really poor teams can still produce out there. I mean, heck, Milan Iloski was the Golden Boot winner for Orange County 2 years ago when they were the worst team in the league by far. And then they turned it around this year. I think you're onto something with that.
I wonder if we're going to see some changes with this and maybe a more aggressive style of play, something. Because, look, I know that people are happy that Detroit City made the playoffs, and that's all that matters to fans. But that season wasn't great. If you're looking at it from a pure soccer point of view and not the fandom point of view, there's definitely some major parts that need retooling on this club.
Yeah, the offense was bad. And I can say bad as opposed to not good, because it was historically bad. It was as close to being one of the worst seasons offensively that they had. So while they leaned on their great defense to carry them through some of the tough parts of the season, you don't want to have to live like that as a team. because eventually you stop being able to come back, and eventually you start getting too tired to even get to that point, and then you start getting blown out, which we saw happen a few times during the season. They'd have a few games where they would hold on, then play against Tampa or Phoenix or a team that likes to run, and then you look up and it's 4-5-0, 4-5-1, and it's not a good home experience. You kind of at least want to see some fight going forward, because even the soccer Pierce in me hates hearing this, but like, watching goals scored is fun. Like, of course, you want to watch a gritty, nervy, 1-0 game, but like watching your team score is also a pretty good feeling too.
We're going to talk more about the club in a minute. What about Dichio's experience playing? All this experience, a lot of it in the second division in England, starting his career at the Queen's Park Rangers, spending a little bit of time in Italy. Of course, MLS experience, did a lot of work on the managerial side, and did some work with their development squad. So what kind of benefits does this have for the club, having this much international experience?
I mean, I know Trevor had some as well, especially as a player, but it's not as extensive as Dichio's. So I guess having someone who played for a few clubs you might have seen on television or just heard of or something like that, and being kind of closer in age, you think kind of helps a little bit.
Yeah, he's not even 50 yet, right?
Yeah, no, he's 49, so he'll be 50 next year. But I guess also him having some experience in the American soccer sector, but not just at the MLS, but also in the lower levels. Sometimes you'll see a coach go win the Super Bowl, then go coach college, and like it does not work. Or you'll see an NBA coach go to the college sector, and like their schemes don't work. And it's because sometimes you have this kind of bigger, I guess, idea value coming from a higher league. You think, oh, all this can work at the lower levels, and you see they don't have the facilities or the skill. So to have someone who's kind of accustomed to working on the second division probably helps a bit more than maybe someone who is coming from higher divisions trying to put all that stuff down on the second level.
That makes sense. Let's talk about this roster, because a coach can do so much, and we don't really know how much impact Danny will have on the roster yet. There's a lot up in the air with this roster. Nobody's been really re-signed, obviously because of this coaching situation. But on the other hand, on Thursday is this contract option deadline coming up. There are some key players that, frankly, might not be given an option. And I take nothing off the table, Fletcher, around who could stay and who can go, especially with a new coach. I know that there's a continuation of Trevor, but if you're going to retool, I think any name, literally any name, is possible to go. And, I'll even put it out there, like some of our best names, other clubs might be interested in, picking them up or getting them a raise or something like that.
I know I've heard some names throughout the season. I know early on I heard Devin Mumensa. There's some mention of Stephen Carroll. Everyone's always been talking about Nate. You just have players in the club who like mean a lot to you, but also could mean a lot to another team. Maybe they offer them some money, more money than you can give them, and maybe they have to make some extra thoughts about what they're going to do next.
So in that vein of anybody's possible to go, I mean, unless it's a younger talent like Dominic Gasso, who obviously you're trying to invest in and develop and either keep on the squad or try to, move him in the future to help build the club. I mean, I don't see how we see the same team, because we kind of pulled a little bit of that trick in last offseason. It didn't work out so great for us.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning of last offseason, the names they brought in had some baggage and could have been some great talent. Some of them were, some of them weren't. So we kind of just want to see who they bring in. Like you said, they will have to potentially let go of some people in order to do that, to make money to bring the people in. So I don't know. Some people might have their feelings hurt a little bit when that list comes out.
Yeah, I don't have any real inside information, but I do know that when I hear words like restructuring, I feel like that means a lot of things could change. That's just what my gut says. When I hear that word, I'm like, anything is possible, and fans should probably get ready for that.
Yeah, if they've been a fan of the team for a while, maybe it might be best to think of it kind of like the old MPSL days, where like you had some great kid who went to University of Maryland, and then after he's done playing with you, he goes back to school. Then the next offseason, he's playing somewhere else. And it's like the names change. The numbers don't change, but the names change. So I'm not saying it's going to be that many people, but there are some really big fan favorites who got to play for the club for only 1 or 2 years because their lives took them somewhere else. So maybe, I don't know, keep that in mind.
Yeah. I feel like it's the beginning of the true pro era for the club, right? Like the last couple of years have been transition. There's been a lot of players have carried through. And, when you've got new coaching, yes, Trevor's still there, but when you've got new coaching and you've got mixed results on the field and you've got a league and I know that a lot of fans do not follow the rest of the league like you and I do, Fletcher. I get that, right? Like, I know this is not like the NFL where people know, who the Colts are or the Ravens or whatever, right? Like, because this is second division soccer. Most fans are like, I want to go out and see the club and I don't really pay attention to the other stuff. But if you want to win and you're at a pro level, you need to pay attention. And Detroit City is not on an island, and this league is really developing at warp speed.
Yeah, since Detroit's joined the USL Championship, there have been 3 sales of players to clubs over $1 million, which before they joined, there wasn't the case at all. And then after they joined, it's just million, 1.2. Like, as it climbs up, which means that there are eyes all around the country, if not the world, paying attention to the league and some of the players. So if clubs are selling players for $1 million and they're getting that money in to go buy players, like, it kind of puts you in a real rough spot if you're not doing something similar. So sometimes you have to let go of some stuff that might be valuable to other people so you can rebuild your club.
Well, Fletcher Sharpe, I got to tell you, I'm excited. I want to give this guy a real good chance, and I'm very interested to see what happens over the next week. And then when we get together again on Monday, we'll be on the other side of Thursday, and I'm sure we're going to break it all down.
I mean, of course, you want to give anyone a chance. They haven't even gone out there and given the practice bibs out to go play a game of Rondo or something. So until they have their first scrimmage, like, everyone who's thinking about it should be thinking positive thoughts. Comes from a successful program, has professional level, he has his A levels in coaching, which means he knows what he's doing. There are a lot of positives, so we should all lean on that for now.
100%. Fletcher Sharpe, thank you for making the time and for talking to us today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
All right, friends, let's get your thoughts. 313-789-3211. That's 313-789-3211. Leave a voicemail for the show or dailydetroit@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk tomorrow.